Hello, and welcome back to our series called Entering a New Relational Paradigm. I'm here with Dr. Rouven Schneider, cultural anthropologist and relational artist, he calls himself. And today we're going to continue this series of conversations around relationships as a path of growth and evolution, and with the topic of communication. We're going to talk about intentional communication as a way to tend to your relationship and deepen the connection and make space for growth, mutual growth. So communication is the topic of the day. And I think it's quite funny, actually, that we started recording this talk yesterday. And we ended up having lots of technical difficulties and we couldn't really hear each other. And that's quite like a good image about communication, right? In relationships, that sometimes we can't really hear each other. Sometimes there's obstacles in the way. In our case, there was the technical difficulty, but it just made it ever so clear how important it is to create these clear channels for communication. And that's what we're going to dive into today, and also give you some concrete tips and tricks that you can use in your relationship. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Actually, it was funny yesterday having this technical difficulties that left a lot of room for interpretation. Like I only heard half of what you said, and your pictures were moving like that. So I didn't have the chance to really get you. And that made it then insecure for me again to reply. And it left a lot of space for imagination and interpretation. And that actually then made our communication, like in a way, crumble. Yeah, it doesn't have this profoundness anymore. And I think it's a good picture actually for what is needed for proper and intentional communication that serves our relationship rather than it's just exchanging of facts.
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting that it happened specifically with this theme. And I would love to start with like defining what do we mean when we say communication, because I think it's like obvious when you say that communication is important in relationships. Like, yeah, of course it's important. We talk to each other, right? But communication can be so much more than just talking. And I would love for you to speak into that. I know you have some interesting perspectives on it.
Yeah. Well, the psychotherapist and communication researcher Paul Watzlawick said so nicely, we cannot not communicate. So actually we are communicating all the time. In a way, I'm even communicating to people I don't know on the other side of the world. In a way, like we don't have each other in our fields, but as soon as I have someone in the field and even don't reach out in any way, I'm communicating that I don't want you in my field, or I'm not interested in you. So it's not just about speaking and actively communicating with body languages or with notes or messages or something, like doing actively things, but also what intention is behind it. It's also a big element of communication. So not just if I communicate or if I actively communicate, but from what state, from what point, with what empathy, with what respect, with what tone, with what interval. If I leave space for you, for example, and give you the possibility to be heard, and back and forth, if there's a real interest. So communication has so many layers, even going that far that not communicating is also in a way communicating. If I don't get back to you, if I only answer your messages 3 days later, that's communicating something.
Right. So you're saying it's important to bring in an awareness as to what intention I'm communicating with. Like that's what we're calling the topic of today, is intentional communication, right? Mm-hmm. So would you say that that's part of this new relational paradigm, that if we want to shift how we relate from the old paradigm, and we speak into more to this and the history and why it's needed a new paradigm in the last episode of this series. So if you want to dive into that, I recommend checking out that episode. Mm-hmm. But would you say that this piece, intentional communication, that's important for shifting our relational paradigm? And if so, why is it so important to have this intentionality?
Yeah, totally. I would say it's a major point of consciously relating, or in a new paradigm relating, because it brings in awareness. Like, I have to be aware, as I said already, that I'm communicating anyhow. Even if I don't actively engage you, that's communicating something. So being aware of that I communicate anyhow, well, we should put some effort into communicating what we actually would want to communicate. Yeah, because otherwise it leaves a lot of space for interpretation and misunderstandings, and just get the other one guessing around, and that doesn't lead to connection. It could lead to in a way, dealing with each other. Like, we can use, for example, not communicating as a way of passive dominance, for example. Yeah, if we have a fight and then I just give you the silent treatment, that's a way of being passive aggressive, and that's a way of actively manipulating you. Yeah, and if that's good or not, that's a different case. But I can choose that intentionally to communicate something, like, I'm sick of this, I don't want to talk about it anymore, I'm mad at you, or something like that. And if we twist it around into something positive, that, again, I have to be aware that I'm communicating anyhow. So if we're communicating anyhow, what do I actually want you to receive? How do I want to be seen by you? So yes, communication brings in the possibility to be intentionally and aware in relationship. Yeah.
Right. So why do you think it's so hard for people, like this intentionality in how we communicate? Because I think often you mentioned, like, we often just communicate on autopilot, like assuming what the other wants to hear, or sort of modeling the communication or withdrawing the communication, and not really putting a loving intention into the communication. Why would you say that that people struggle with it?
Well, I think there are actually two misconceptions about this unaware communication. One is what you just said. We communicate on autopilot, meaning that we somehow expect that the other one gets us anyhow. Like you have to get me. Yeah, I want to be seen by you, so it's more or less your fault if I don't feel seen by you. That's how, actually, that's a childish impulse, that I come with my self-agency and want the world to respond to me. But actually, the mature and adult way of communicating is I have to be self-responsible in showing myself through communication in every way. So one misconception is, if I don't communicate clearly what is really inside of me, I cannot expect that the other one sees me. And the other part is, we often think that we need to respond in a certain way. So I'm not actually communicating from what is really alive in me, but rather from the point of what would the other like, so I am liked. Yeah, that's the version, like small talk, or people-pleasing communication. That's like, I try to figure out what you want to hear and what would delight you to hear and how I can present myself so we can stay in good connection. But both ways feel off. If we're true, we sense that. They both don't have depth. In the one part, I cannot reach depth because the other one doesn't show him or herself. And in the other way, the other one talks maybe a lot, but not really from honesty and integrity. So both is lacking depth. So we have to actually figure out what communication really is about. Why are we communicating? Actually, it's not about exchanging facts so much. I think there's something deeper behind it.
Right. Yeah. And I think those two parts that you mentioned, what plays into both of them, I would say, is our own history, our own relational trauma, right? So to have an awareness of that is probably also helpful. Like, my relational patterns, what am I bringing into this relationship? Do I have this people pleaser that I think many of us have, that is very just focused on you and focused on what do I think that you want, right? It doesn't even have to match what you actually want or need, but it has this focus on always trying to make you happy and figure out what to say to avoid a conflict and to make sure that you're happy and that you still like me and so on. So I think that's an important piece to have an awareness of my relational patterns, what I bring into this relationship, right? And yeah, I love what you said last, to look at what is why do we communicate, right? What is it that we want with that? Because I know you usually say, like, it's so much more than just exchanging information. So what is it? What is the need underneath that, and why are we communicating? Would you say?
Yeah. Well, one level is actually exchanging information and facts. Like, let's have this call at 2 p.m. or something like that. Yeah, we can agree upon things via exchanging information. But the actual thing is, and you just brought in the nervous system and our own upbringing and trauma history, maybe, yeah, and conditioning, yeah. Parts of our nervous system, or at least our awareness, is constantly interpreting our surroundings, including the other, like the people around me. And that's where communication happens already. Like, how they behave, if they look at me, how close they stand, if they approach me with eyes open or closed, or like, if, yeah, everything. Yeah, like the whole behavior is interpreted, and it's about wanting to see the other, so I in a way feel have a picture of you. I want to feel safe with you. I want to feel congruency. Yeah. So my system can relax, and I can in a way really relate on you, like depend on you. If we're connecting deeper, I need to have the feeling that I see you. I need your transparency. But bringing in the new relational paradigm we are talking about so much here is in a way turning that around and putting up the mirror to myself first. So I am responsible to show myself transparently to others intentionally, so I have the chance to really be seen by the other. So even on a subconscious level, communication, I believe, is about the need for being received and being seen. And there is a sad truth that we have to accept, that is that we never will fully be seen by any other, even our closest ones. Even in the most intimate moments, there's always parts in me the other just doesn't get. Maybe I don't get them myself. So how would the other get it anyway when we don't get ourselves? but there is this need of, in a way, merging. There is this longing for being understood, being seen, being validated. And that's actually what we're looking for in communication. And we're using words for that. But this need is much older than humans use words. So words are just one way of communicating. We can communicate on so many other levels. Like from body language to pheromones, even if my hormones and pheromones I send out, which I cannot even control, but if they don't correspond to what you're picking up and how I am behaving, you won't feel safe with me. So I might be in a partnership with someone I don't feel safe with, or I'm even afraid of, because there's maybe violence or whatever. And we can act as if everything was fine, but the other one will pick up that something's wrong, because I'm still sending out this messenger pheromones that say like, oh no, something's off here. So to make it shorter, we communicate anyhow on so many levels, and it's about congruency. It's about seeing the other and wanting to be seen. And that's where we all play around. That's where we misinterpret and play roles and try to be attractive, but that's not authentic, so it doesn't work in a way. And that's where all the funny and not so funny stuff comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like you spoke into many many important things there, but I think what often happens in especially romantic relationships, we might have been together over time for a while, and I might start assuming, right, that you just get me now. I don't have to tell you what I want or what I need or what's going on for me. You should just get me. You should just be able to read my mind, right? And when you don't, that builds this resentment, like, like you should, why are you not getting me? I thought you loved me. I thought you knew me, and all of that. And I think what you spoke into here as a pattern breaker of that is transparency. That's really the key to share what is going on for me right this moment, to reveal myself in the present moment, not from ideas I have or these ideas of what I think you want to hear, but what's actually going on for me right now. Like I might even share, I'm really insecure. I don't know what to share, but I want to be connected with you right now. Like that might be enough already, just to share what's going on in the present moment. Because as you spoke into the nervous system, the other picks that up anyway, right? So if I'm really tense and stressed and or sad or angry or whatever, and I don't speak into that, your nervous system will feel it anyway. And you might even ask me, how are you? And I might say, I'm fine. But your nervous system goes like, that isn't true. That's not congruent. Like there's this disconnect between what I'm saying and what your nervous system is picking up from my nervous system, because they are talking to each other all the time. And that's what creates unsafety in a relationship, when there isn't that sense of, what you're saying matches what I'm picking up, right?
Okay.
So I would love to speak into that more, like how would one practice that to be transparent? What would be, if we get a bit more concrete, like how could you practice that in a relationship? Safety.
Yeah, when I work with my clients, there's often the feeling of, oh, I cannot talk that much about my feelings, or I cannot even feel my feelings that much. Or one of the couple says, I don't see a sense in this. Like, in a way, you ask me how my day was, and it's always the same. I have this shitty job, and why should I talk about that? I actually am happy that I'm not there anymore. Yeah. What I tell them is, like I first explained them in a way what we just shared, that it's not so much about sharing the information. It's not, the other one isn't really interested in how my day was. The other one is interested in what is alive in me. The question, how was your day, is in a way the portal opening the door to invite you in so I can feel you. Yeah. And as you just said, I then tell the people, talk about your lack of, or your subjective perceived lack of not being able to talk about things. So that could sound something like, oh wow, I hear you asking me those questions, and that really makes me insecure because I don't know what to say about that. My day was shitty and I just want to be over with. And now I feel pressured that I should tell you about feelings in me, but I actually don't feel that much and I don't know what to say. And I could now mimic that over and over again. That's already so much more because it's true and it's alive in the moment. It brings in the transparency. Something like, I don't know what to tell you. I want to give you the information that I like you, but I don't know how. Is better than just acting and saying something, because that's then not congruent anymore. So what I really practical say the people is not so much try to manage things or try to say the right things, but just share what is alive in them at the moment. And that could even say, I don't know what to say, but I enjoy being close to you. Can we not talk? Can we just hug? Can we just have a tea together and be silent? Something like that. That communicates so much already, right? Like if I invite you to have a tea with me and just shut up and maybe put our feet together under the blanket, but I don't feel comfortable talking. That's so much closeness communication already. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, and there's this sense of revealing, like
Yeah, I
I
love
am
that.
revealing something about myself that might feel vulnerable, because I actually want you to think that I have it all figured out, right? And yeah, so that you keep loving me and you keep seeing me as an interesting person. But to actually have the courage to share something that isn't all put together or all figured out and might be messy, and might be really sensitive, that's the sense of I'm revealing myself. And with that, I would say I'm giving you a gift. I'm giving you an offering. I'm placing an offering on the altar of our relationship.
Nice.
Because I care, because I care of the relationship, about the relationships. I care about you. So there's this sense of, instead of just making something up or pretending or saying what I think you want to hear, I take a pause and I look at what would be a gift and offering right now that I could give to this relationship. And that is to share something that might be vulnerable, but at least it's true, right? It's what's going on in this moment, so that you can feel me and so that you can feel safe with me. And that also is an invitation for the other, right? Like if I start with this offering, I would assume that your willingness to also reveal yourself and place your offering on this altar increases, because you're like, oh wow, that's so courageous that you show yourself, and you can feel that willingness and that love that I would courageously show myself, and that would make you more willing to show yourself as well. And then we start a whole different interaction and reinforcement, right?
Yeah. And that's the upward spiral then. Yeah. Like giving, as you just said, like receiving something like, oh wow, I see you really opening and wanting, giving me the opportunity to see you. That allows me to open up more again. And then that's back and forth, the positive upward spiral. Yeah. While if the other doesn't communicate intentionally or communicate intransparently, then there's so much misconception and misunderstanding, and it leaves so much room for interpretation. So again, coming back to this one example we had, I might feel uncomfortable with talking right now. The good thing is talking about my uncomfortability and maybe saying, hey, I actually don't want to be together with you right now, and I need an hour alone, but then I'll come back. That's more transparent and more connecting than just spending time together, but actually not wanting to, but not trusting that I can say that. Yeah.
Because the other can feel it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we pick it up anyway. And it's not congruent to what we pick up. Yeah.
And I just love this piece around the upward spiral. And I think that's how this connects to this topic of entering a new relational paradigm, because the new relational paradigm is about reinforcing healing and growth and evolution for each other, for ourselves and for each other, right? So if we can have these tools and these perspectives and bring them into our relationships of how can I shift the downward spiral, because we're all really good at that, being in a downward spiral, this trigger ping pong. You say that and I have to respond to that, and then we never come out of it, this downward spiral, right? But if I bring in awareness and these tools and perspectives of how can I actually shift that to an upward spiral, how can I bring in more awareness, more healing, and opportunities for growth and deeper connection, that's what I would say this new relational paradigm that we're talking about is actually about. Right? Or at least a big piece.
Yeah, totally. Like the communication, communication is actually just the vehicle for transparency. So transparency, I would rather say, is one major pillar of this new relational paradigm I'm promoting very much. Yeah.
And we will dive deeper into that and what other pieces there are and tools. But I would love to end with just a last practical tool or practice that couples could use. And I know that you've talked a lot about this, and we've actually had this as a reoccurring practice to share transparency regularly, and that is to have a check-in, right? So I would love to just describe that. What is a check-in and how can that be helpful in a relationship?
Well, I recommend people that live close together, and you can have that with several people, like the whole family or the whole community or your whole colleagues in where you work, or as a couple, just one-on-one, to have a regular check-in at least every few days, ideally every day, actually, as when we spend time together, we have that every morning. Check-in means it's not about, there's no goal in it. It's just voicing what is active in me, telling about me, but having uninterrupted speaking time. And you can time that maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes if you want that, or you can just speak when there's some time awareness that I don't talk 15 minutes. But have some minutes uninterrupted speaking time where I can just follow my train of thought and in a way think loudly and expose myself in a way. And that can even start with, I don't know what to share right now, but it feels nice to sit in front of you. Actually looking at you, I feel softening, and then it continues by itself. Maybe I talk about how I slept and how I feel with going to work later, or how my work was, or that I'm afraid of spending time with the kids alone later, or something whatever is there. But the most important part is actually at the listener's side, because the listener ideally listens from a real state of genuine interest. and is not in a way making notes in the head, like, oh, what do I want to respond to? Oh, I have to remember that, otherwise he or she will get angry, or, oh, I want to say something about that. It's just about being totally pure and trying to see the world through the eyes of the other. And that again shows just it's about that we so much want to be seen and want to be felt. And this check-in has the opportunity that one shares the most active what's there right now, and the other one gives its most focus on seeing that without judgment, without filters, just receiving that. So I get a glimpse of what is happening in your inner universe. And after some moments, we don't respond, we just switch, and it can be totally different topic. Yeah. So we share this little moment of, hey, I offer you to see me, and I really try to see you. And that is such a so connecting thing. Even if you're in struggle at the moment or have arguments, if our politicians would listen to the other from this state of curiosity and really trying to, at least for this little moment, see the world through their eyes, we would have a totally different worldwide political setup.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think I love this practice as well. And like we said, we use it a lot. And I think for me, what it gives is this sense of like tending to the relationship, having this maintenance in a way. This
I love that. Yeah.
That daily having, maybe if it's just 5 minutes, but having this space where we tend to our connection, where we have the opportunity to reveal ourselves. And because we have that regularly, I know, like, to a certain degree, kind of, not everything, but at least I know where you are, right?
Yeah, right.
So stuff doesn't have to build up. I don't have to guess what's going on for you and prepare for the worst. And stuff doesn't have to explode weeks later because it wasn't spoken into, right?
Right.
So I think just to have this practice does such a big difference in any relationship, really, like even with your children, or you said family. At work, I actually brought this into, when I was responsible for a group of teachers, I brought this into our daily meetings that we started with a short check-in, and everyone just shared a couple of sentences. And that shifted our working environment so much, just to know that your colleague is going through a divorce right now. Right. And it might be a bit shaky because of that, or they slept really badly. Okay, then you stay in the kitchen and do the dishes today, you know? So there's this, like, I know what's going on for you, so I don't have to put energy into guessing and preparing for what could be happening for you. I know it, I can feel it. And then my nervous system can relax when I'm around you. So I highly encourage, if you're in any relationship, really, to see if you can implement this in any way, to have this check-in practice as a maintenance and tending to the relationship to create trust and safety. I really, really love it.
And I know we're running out of time, but if we have these full days that we have and think we don't have time to sit down once or twice a week or even every day and give this 5 minutes, the bare minimum in a relationship for me is to take 20 seconds, and when I come home or leave in the morning, maybe give this moment, like we stand in front of each other, we take a few breaths together, we look in each other's eyes and really like calm down for at least 20 seconds and have this moment of connection and say something like, hey, I really hope you have a good day, and really mean it. And come home and not just go in and pack my stuff and go to my yoga class directly, but really come home and say, like, okay, hey, nice to have you home. Like this little moment of really appreciating the presence of the other is the bare minimum of communication. Because even if we know, like mentally know that we want to be together and we are loved, we have to give our systems, our nervous systems, the possibility to read each other, to have congruency again. So that's really the bare minimum, to have these little moments of you and me vulnerably open, like in a way, energetically naked in front of each other, sharing this little moment of transparency. And it can be 20 seconds. And I always, like I tell my clients, don't tell me you don't have 20 seconds to tend your partnership. Yeah.
I love that. And that's this intentionality, like bringing in intentionality. How am I communicating and what am I saying with my communication? So it's a great ending to this topic on intentional communication.
Nice.
So I really hope you get some inspiration and practices you can use at home in your relationship out of this. And that's what we intend with these conversations, is really to inspire and share practices that we know work to create healthier relationships where there's space for growth and evolution. And stay tuned for the next conversation. We will post all of the recordings on my podcast, Somatic Relating, and Rouven's YouTube channel, Evolutionary Integrity. So follow us there to stay tuned on upcoming talks. And thank you for joining me for this conversation today. And I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, Ida, thank you so much. That was really nice to have this reflection. And I'm looking forward to future topics as well.
And we could actually hear each other today.
Yeah, that was good. And if you're inspired and if you have own inquiries listening to this, like just comment in the comment section what topics you want us to reflect on, or what struggles you have. Maybe we can give some reflections on that.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah. Would love to hear from you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for today, and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.